Hello there, this is Shane from Initiative 1, and I also happen to be the current developer of the Runewars Tabletop Simulator mod. So I wanted to show you how to set it up ahead of time so that your setup goes a little more smoothly and you are able to get playing a lot quicker. So what I've done here is put everything that I need for my particular army out here on the table. So obviously I've got the models, the cards, the dials. I've also got a terrain deck and all the terrain that corresponds to that deck. In this particular setup, since I'm practicing for regionals, I've got the three cards, the three deployments and objectives that are currently legal and will be used for regionals. I also grabbed one of these reference sheets. These are actually the reference sheets that we use for tournaments at our local store, Atomic Empire. If you're ever in Durham, North Carolina, you should check it out. The May one in particular is nice because it has on step 4 there the terrain card rules. Most of our tournaments don't use terrain cards. We just use terrain provided by the store, so it's got slightly different rules. But the May of 2018, since we were practicing for store champs and regionals and all that, has those rules specifically. So anyway, once you've got all this laid out, you want to highlight it all, and then hold down Control and click on the table. Now what you've done there is highlighted everything, including the table. You can't really see that it's highlighted because of the way that Tabletop Simulator outlines things, but just so you know, you can see that outline there. Everything is still selected. So then you right-click on the table, and you go Save Object. Save it based on some name that makes sense to you. Like this is my Latari list from June 2018, so I'll just save it that way. I've done this before, so that's fine. So once you've got that saved, then you can prep the table itself. So reload the mod, and this will take some time. Obviously, this loading time is what we're trying to cut down on here, because right now it's loading every single thing on both tables, and depending on a computer, that can take a really long time. So then we're going to delete everything on these side tables. Now you can see here, Tabletop Simulator will only select so many objects at once. I think it's somewhere in the range of like 100. So you have to do a few selects in order to get that done. For the most part, you won't have a problem selecting your whole army that way. I know I've got a very cluttered army, so it's doubtful you have more objects in it than I do. If these little labels are bugging you, you can use the text tool here, and select trash. Oops, or accidentally create more of them, and click there, and they're gone. I sometimes find these side tables useful, but if you want, you can even clear those just by right-clicking on them and clicking delete. So once you've got, I guess these middle things also are not necessary because you've probably already read them and you already know what they say. So you can delete those. You've got a clean table here, and so you're going to want to save this. I've already done this a couple of times, so I could just overwrite one of these, or you can click Create and name it something new. So once you've got that empty Runewars table saved, and you start up a new game, going to the main menu just to get the steps from there. So let's say you're sitting down to play with a friend. Both of you have already done the setup. You go to multiplayer. You make a server name. You put in a random password that you also tell your friends so they can get in. Some number of players. If you want spectators, then you can make it more than 2 players and other people can join in. And you click Create Server. So when it asks you what game you want, you don't want to click on the main Runewars mod. You want to click on the empty Runewars table that you created. And that's going to load up much quicker because it doesn't have all that extra stuff to load. It's only about 50 objects, maybe a little bit less or more, depending on how all this ends up. So then you want to spawn your army. You go to Objects, you go to Saved Objects. You take this saved thing here that looks like it's just a table, but I assure you it's not, because when you click and drag it and let go over here in space, it appears. Now the board itself is locked in place. That's intentional, so you can't accidentally select it or anything. But it does make placement a little tricky, so you can't really see where it ended up, and that's a little bit of a gap away from the table itself. So if you want to get that to a more convenient place, to move a locked object without unlocking it, you can use this move tool. If you do it right now, it's going to move all the stuff on it, or it's not going to move all the stuff on it, which means it'll fall. So you want to temporarily move it over here, pop it onto the main table, and then you can break out that move tool, click the side table, you can shift it over, put it up there, and then it's at a much more convenient place. If you don't want all the grass there, if that's a little too cluttered or whatever, you can also change rotation to 180, and that'll flip it over. 180 on the x-axis specifically, or the z-axis. I think either one will work. And then it'll end up upside down like that. So it looks more like a side table instead of a second playmat. Finally, you highlight all your stuff again. Probably not including those side bits. That'll probably be gone from by the time you're watching this. We'll stick this onto the side table. And now we have a nice sort of staging area for all of our things. So we can shuffle all our various decks and do the setup steps, and start putting terrain and everything else out there. Obviously, your opponent needs to do the same. They'll import their army and get it all set up. You do need to promote them. So if you go up here to where the names are, for one thing, you'd both need to change color, obviously, and you'll be red or blue, and they'll be the other one, and then you can see in your own zone. But when they're here, you'll be able to click their name and click promote. That will allow them to create objects. Without that, they won't actually be able to spawn their army, which obviously makes this whole method not work. It's also handy to be able to copy these multiple times without just pulling out copies from this bag. So it's very nice to just promote them and trust them not to do horrible things, because if they're the kind of person who would do that, you shouldn't be playing with Rune Wars with them anyway. So yeah, that is pretty much the whole deal. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy this mod. I'm hoping to continue to make improvements to it. And thanks for watching.